Good to see everybody again. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about GM tubular control arms. I'm Jesse. We got Steve, our expert here, going to walk us through, we've got three different styles. We've got street, pro touring, and drag. And Steve's going to explain the differences and why each of those might be right for the type of driving you do.
Thanks, Jesse. So this is our street lower control arm. Street version will come with the polyurethane bushings in the pivot points. Our low friction ball joint, that is a maintenance-free ball joint. Do not have to ever do anything to it. Pairing that street lower control arm would be the street upper control arm, and that has polyurethane bushings in the pivot points. Again, our low friction ball joint, maintenance-free. Together, these arms add about 3 to 4 degrees of caster, and with the street arms, and they're just bolt-on. They go on any car. Not to say that you can't take these to a track day or a drag race or something like that. Definitely. Just a great arm option.
Yeah, good all-around arm. Solves a lot of problems for a lot of folks, but if you do some more aggressive driving on tracks or drag, we've got a couple different options there.
Yeah, we do.
What are the differences between, those types of arms?
Yeah, on our pro touring lower control arm, it's the same weldment as the other control arms. However, it's got a low friction composite bushing in the pivot point, and it's got a low friction ball joint.
Nice, free stuff up.
Oh yeah, and on the top side of the pro touring side of things, this is our pro touring upper control arm. That also has composite low friction bushings in the pivot points and an extended upper ball joint, very free moving. Now we do run an extended upper ball joint in the pro touring. That's going to give us better camber gain when cornering hard, and just a better arm if you're going to do some type of competitive weekend turning events.
Eliminate as much bind as we can. Get that
absolutely
shock and spring working the best they can together.
And again, if you have a weekend warrior, you can definitely run the pro touring arms on your street cars, not an issue.
Awesome.
When it comes to the drag racing side of things, on the drag lower control arm, similar to the pro touring, it's got the composite low friction bushings as well as the low friction ball joint. On the drag arm, you will see an anodized, this is not the drag arm, this is the street, but on the drag arm, you'll see a red anodized lightweight ball joint cap. That will signify that it is the drag lower control arm. And then on the top side of things is our drag racing upper control arm. Again, very free moving with the composite bushings in the pivot points, low friction ball joint. And on the drag arms, you'll see there's the red anodized lightweight cap. Another thing with the drag arms is that we include an adjustable droop stop. This is going to help you limit the amount of travel at the track. If you've got a car going airborne, you know that you want to run a limiter strap or something like that to prevent the shocks from just pulling themselves apart. This droop stop is what helps us adjust that just before the shocks get to their full extended. Save your shocks. Also, you can help tie it down with that also.
Oh, nice. Yeah. All right, Steve, so the boxes showed up at my door. Beautiful brand new control arms inside. What do I need to know to get these things installed on my car right?
Well, right out of the box, Jesse, it's going to come with the control arms. It's going to come with all of the hardware. It's going to come with the written instructions, with photos and everything. So it's just a real simple remove and replace situation.
Got some install videos done.
Yeah, on the upper control arms, we do not include upper hardware. The upper control arms are held into the chassis by pressed in studs.
Okay.
We don't want you to take those studs out of the chassis because it'll open up the hole that they're pressed into. That is why there's no upper hardware. So reuse the upper hardware, but with the lower hardware comes with everything you need.
All new. Basic hand tools, stuff I can do in my shop or garage.
Absolutely.
If I've got conventional springs, looking to get rid of those, I'm thinking about installing coilovers. Will these arms work for my coilovers?
Yeah, so you'll be required to use coilovers with our lower control arm.
Okay.
Our coilovers are going to show up with this T-bar installed. Now this is installed so that you can use these with your factory control arms if that's the route you're going. But when combining it with our lower control arms, you'll find inside the lower control arm box a spherical bearing. Spherical bearing will go into the shock. Easy hand tools to swap the T-bar out, put the spherical bearing in, and it drops right down into the pocket. The through bolt that holds this coilover to the lower control arm is also inside the lower control arm box. And when you do install these Pro Touring arms with the extended upper ball joint stud, you will see a section of this ball joint sticking up out of the spindle. Completely normal. It's an extended ball joint stud.
All right, so once we got a few miles on these arms, you know, what sort of maintenance do I need to do to keep them up? Is there a difference between the street arm through the drag arm, or?
Yeah, all of the pivot points will have grease fittings as well as the ball joints. The ball joints will use a lithium grease, just needs 1 or 2 squirts, as well as the pivot points. Now the pivot points and the low friction bushings in the Pro Touring and drag arms, they really don't need anything. We install grease during assembly, and that's with that composite material. It just isn't needed. But you could do a little bit of grease if you wanted to. The other bit of maintenance is going to be in the ball joint. It is greasable. This is our street arm. It's the low friction. It is maintenance free, so maybe a squirt of grease into that one. Okay. On the Pro Touring as well as the drag arms, they have the low friction ball joint. Now this ball joint is set up for competition. Because it's a rebuildable unit, we were going to want you to check the preload every 3,000 to 6,000 miles. So those are the details on the QA1 control arms, whether you get the street, the Pro Touring, or the drag version. We're glad you stopped by to check out this video. We've got lots of other tech videos on our YouTube channel you can check out. You can call us at the tech line if you have any questions. And until then, remember to go drive it.